For today's Misty's Histories, I am actually celebrating Celtic Festival weekend here in St. Augustine, Florida. It is absolutely beautiful, and if you haven't listened to any of my other rantings, St. Augustine is literally the nation's oldest city. With that being said, Celtic Festival weekend, and today the St. Patrick's Day Parade was held. St. Augustine actually has the claim of holding the first St. Patrick's Day celebration and parade back in the year 1600. And this would be led by an Irish Catholic priest who was St. Augustine's city parish priest and chaplain to the soldiers stationed here at the fort. Well, you may be wondering, he was Irish, but the settlement, it was Spanish. Well, because at the time England was so Protestant that anyone who was wanting to enter the priesthood under the Catholic world had to do a lot of studying in Spain. He would end up being here. He would go on ships, and he would actually be responsible for helping to translate a letter that was written in Francis Drake's own hand. Kind of cool. But I also have to throw out for the Scottish side of it. In 1689, we would see the Convention of the Estates of Scotland. And this was actually a group of men that would get together and decide who the actual ruler was going to be. Now, mind you, there were two candidates, technically three. You had James II, James Stuart, rightful heir to the throne. And then you had William of Orange and his wife, Mary Stuart, who actually was James II's daughter. Why is this an issue? Well, because at the time, Scotland and England are predominantly Protestant, and James is a firm Catholic. Eventually, there would be some civil wars, and in the end, it would be decided that William and Mary would rule jointly till their deaths because they were Protestant. They were going to make sure that they would not have to endure a Catholic ruler ever again. And to this day, that is actually true. Whoever the crown of England and Scotland is passed to is not allowed to be Catholic. Kind of cool, kind of sad. However, eventually, in the end, you would hear of all of these things called Jacobite risings. Throughout the years, there were many groups that would attempt to restore James Stuart back to the throne. And here we are in one of those. In 1746, Bonnie Prince Charlie would lose at the Battle of Culloden. However, one of their biggest supporters was, of course, Clan MacDonald, and that just happens to be where my ancestors came from. I hope you enjoyed today's Misty's Histories, and I encourage you to please learn one little tidbit of history every single day. And if you have Irish friends, please check on them on Wednesday. Make sure they're okay. Take them a bottle of water, whatever needs to be done. Have a good day.